Elon Musk says that we are in the middle of a recession, despite different banks and economists saying that the recession is nowhere near here. Musk believes otherwise and has the proof to back it up. He said, and I quote, "Recessions are not necessarily a bad thing. I've been through a few of them, and what tends to happen is if you have a boom that goes on too long, you get a misallocation of capital. It starts raining money on fools, basically." Now, we all know that Elon Musk is not an expert on all things recessions or possibly all things Twitter, as the deal has not went through yet, but he is joining a chorus of others sounding the alarm on a pending recession, which the National Bureau of Economic Research defines as a widespread months-long decline in the economy. So again, what is a recession? A recession refers to a significant decline in general economic activity in a designated region. It had been typically recognized as 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline as reflected by GDP, which is gross domestic product, and key indicator of a recession is the rise in unemployment. So I said GDP. What is gross domestic product? It is the total monetary or market value of all finished goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period. And according to economists, the GDP is not looking too good. The prices of food have skyrocketed, and so has the gas prices. In California, gas is $10 a gallon. They're saying this is the highest inflation in 40 years and that it has a domino effect on the housing market as well, meaning that buying a home is not only more difficult financially, but it's also daunting. Even if people can afford to buy a home right now, they're scared that the same thing will happen in 2008. Some people bought their homes and then lost their jobs because of the recession, therefore leading to a financial drought. Tara Sinclair, an economics professor at George Washington University, said, and I quote, "People are noticing the higher prices and that in many cases their wages aren't keeping up. In fact, in 2022, inflation rose 8%, yet the wages of the average American only rose 3%. If any." Now, some economists are pointing out that these inflationary problems are just a bump in the road for low and middle class Americans, and that low and middle class Americans are equipped to withstand this inflation because consumers are still buying with the money that they have, and that there are plenty of jobs to go around, and that Americans are still spending with the savings they amassed during the pandemic, which is still keeping the economy afloat today. Yep, that's right. The $1,400 stimulus checks that were issued to us, people saved that over the years and that they're now spending the money. All this extra cash that people have is one thing Elon Musk is blaming for the economic downturn. Said, and I quote, "The obvious reason for inflation is the government printed a zillion amount of more money than it had. The government can't just issue checks for an excessive revenue without there being inflation." So the real question is, are we in the middle of a recession, or is the recession not even here, or is it close? The questions go on and on. Well, Wall Street is divided right now. On one side of the aisle, Bank of America and Deutsche Bank says that the U.S. is certain to plunge into a recession. On the other hand, JP Morgan and UBS say that they acknowledge that economic pressures are here, but they don't think that a full-on recession is coming. Now, Bank of America said that the inflation shock will cause a recession this year, as well as an equity bear market. Now, what is a bear market? A bear market occurs when there's been a significant and continuous fall in stocks or other assets, usually at least 20%. Now, bear markets generally indicate low investor confidence and a sluggish economy. Despite the negative reputation, bear markets can offer good buying opportunities for patient investors. Have you ever heard of the saying, buy the dip? Well, that means that when stock is low, you buy the stock in hopes that one day that stock price will skyrocket and that you will have increased return tenfold. In fact, during the 2008 recession, a lot of people liquidated their investments as they saw their portfolio plunge in price, while some people decided to, again, buy the dip. And those that decided to buy the dip came back over the hump tenfold. They are looking pretty good right now if they haven't sold anything. Bank of America also say that inflation causes recession. And nearly all of the past recessions have first started with inflation surges, especially in 2008 and in the early 1970s. Deutsche Bank, on the other hand, says that a recession is coming, but it's not going to come until the end of 2023. That the trigger for the recession in 2023 will be because the Fed is going to hike their interest rates up to 5%. JP Morgan researchers say that recession is unlikely, despite saying that they do see financial pressures in U.S. households. JP Morgan said that the Fed is going to fight inflation this year and likely into the next, but there are many other ways for inflation to fall regardless of what happens to interest rates. Data from JP Morgan also shows that people on average have more money in their bank accounts now than before the pandemic, and that wage growth has been the fastest in lower paying jobs, far outstripping inflation. UBS also thinks that a recession this year is very unlikely, saying that the savings Americans have accrued during the pandemic is one reason that inflation isn't going to overwhelm households. So what are the next steps here? The next steps is to prepare. Whether Elon Musk thinks that we're in a recession or not, there are plenty of things that you can do to prepare yourself. For one, think about where you can cut back. The things that you're buying, a want or a need. Of course, we do have to pay rent, pay for our medical bills, and make sure that we have food on the table for our loved ones. But do we have to eat out every day? And do we have to buy that cool shirt that we see on Amazon once a week? Do you need to keep that gym membership even though you haven't hit the gym in 6 months, or can you cancel it? Number 2, we can start building a rainy day reserves fund if you haven't already. If you're just starting out, you should build up a 6-month expense fund. Includes all the necessary items like rent, utilities, and groceries. Now, that might seem like a really high number, but let's just say for some reason you lose your job or you're no longer able to work, that 6-month emergency fund will be able to help you during those times. And make sure to get a high yield savings account so you can store your money in there. And if you're not too confident in banks, make sure to store your money somewhere safe so that just in case you can get that money quickly. Number 3 is really important. Make sure to pay off high interest debt as soon as possible. Make sure to clear out your credit card accounts. This is very important. Now, I know what you're about to say. Well, you just told me to start saving 6 months. How can I save and pay off my credit card at the same time? Well, since the recession is coming, or as Elon Musk says, we're in the middle of a recession, let's just say, again, you lose your job. If your credit card is maxed out, well, then your credit card is pretty much useless. And on top of that, you're going to be paying a lot more interest, up to hundreds of dollars a year if you're just paying the minimum amount. It's good to keep your credit card clean just in case anything happens. Number 4, think about your career. Make sure that you log back into your LinkedIn account and get connected with your network. You know what they say, your network is your net worth. Studies show that over 50% of all jobs are obtained by not clicking or submitting your resume on Indeed or different job boards, but is by word of mouth, a connection that you had with that company, gave you a good recommendation, and now you're in. So reach out to different people on your LinkedIn and let them know that you're here. Now, those are just some tips on what you can do right now to help yourself feel better prepared for the recession. Now, I do want to say keep calm. In the beginning of this video, I kind of talked about 2008 and how people sold a lot of their stock from the stock market because they were scared, only for the market to rebound even better a few years later. If you don't have to sell your stock, don't sell it. Maybe just rebalance your portfolio to make it less riskier. A recession brings about stressful times, and we might not be able to control everything, but we can control our attitude and how we view things, our perspective. Try to have a level-headed perspective on everything that is going on in your life. It's not about what happens to you, but it's about what you do afterwards, how you react. So comment below on how you're going to prepare for this recession. Preparation is key. Make sure to like and subscribe for some more Taylor Talks and for some more videos. And as I always say, stay safe. See ya.